Hey guys, Matthew Monas here, and welcome to my review of the Huawei P20 and the P20 Pro. Now, out of all the phones that have come out in 2018 so far, these two are the more exciting ones, and that's mainly due to the camera technology behind them. Now, they're not perfect. There's a few things that I don't like about these devices, and there's a lot of great things going for them. The first thing that I really like about these phones is the design. I like Huawei's experimenting with colors. They introduced a brand new Twilight color that changes colors based on the light in the room. I think that's great. But the design itself is very reminiscent of a certain Apple product. I'm okay with that. It still feels great to hold in the hand. It's comfortable to use. It doesn't have edgy displays to make it more awkward to type. It just works. One thing is interesting though, there's no fingerprint scanner on the back of the device. Huawei's actually put the fingerprint scanner back on the front of the phone. Now I kind of miss having it there. Now if you're planning on using expandable storage with these devices, you're gonna be kind of disappointed. There is 2 slots, but it's just for SIM cards. So if you wanna have a phone that's dual SIM capable, both of these phones are gonna be able to do it. One other thing to note is that the smaller P20 is only IP53 certified, which means you can only get some splashes and light raindrops on your phone without it breaking. But if you want your phone to be entirely waterproof, you gotta go with the P20 Pro. It's IP67, which means it can be dunked in water up to 1.5 meters for 30 minutes. The notch. I know you guys know how I feel about the notch. Every Android manufacturer is going to be doing it this year. It all started from the iPhone 10, and yes, I know technically the Essential phone started it first, but no one cares about the Essential phone. The bottom line is this: if you do get this phone and you want to disable the notch, at least you have the option to do so. Also, Android Oreo is just not built for notches. So if you use Instagram stories, you're gonna have issues. The top of the Instagram story is gonna get cut off. Sometimes when I was posting pictures on IS stories, it would just look pixelated and things would look weird. If you use Netflix, you're gonna have issues. Sometimes I'd pause a video, I'd come back to it later, and the screen would just be black. And the only way for it to solve itself is to reboot the entire phone. Now, there is some issues with MUI still. I think it's been improved significantly compared to the past. I actually don't mind it from a visual standpoint. There's just a lot of little bugs in the background. And that last bug I want to talk about is notifications. Notifications generally have been an issue on Huawei phones for me. Usually some of them just don't come in. The Mate 10 Pro, I had that issue with my Ring video doorbell, and again, it's happening on the P20 Pro. When I first got it, it took a while for my notifications from the Ring doorbell to start working. Same with my August Lock, and same with my home tech devices. The weird thing is though, because it's using AI, it eventually figured out that I use these applications a lot and started letting those notifications in. The bottom line is that MUI, even though it does look more attractive, still has aggressive notification management, and that needs to be fine-tuned for a future update. Now, before I jump into the display, 2 other differences about these phones. If you want dual speakers, you're gonna have to get the bigger P20 Pro. It has a speaker in the earpiece and a speaker on the bottom compared to the one speaker in the P20. In terms of sound quality, they sound good, but they're not nearly as good as the S9 Plus or the iPhone 10, but still much better than having one speaker. And if you want an infrared sensor, you're not gonna find it on the P20. You gotta go for the P20 Pro instead. The display is also a little bit different between both of these devices. If you want an IPS display, you're gonna have to go for the P20. In fact, I actually think the P20 has a brighter display than the bigger AMOLED display on the 6.1-inch version. Now, the AMOLED display is good, but it's not as good as the display on the iPhone 10 and the Galaxy S9 Plus. In fact, I also think the display is being made by Samsung, but it's not one of their premium display panels. In comparison, I think it's very similar to the display on the OnePlus 5T. So it gets bright enough, it looks good, but it's not as great as the other 2 I just mentioned. In terms of performance, both of these devices are using Huawei's Kirin 970 chip. Now, if you've used the Mate 10 or Mate 10 Pro, you'll be very familiar with it because it's the exact same chipset that's inside of here. Day-to-day use, never an issue. These things are really smooth, never had any hiccups or small glitches. The phones just run really, really fast. Huawei just does a good job of optimizing Android to work with their hardware. And now, even though the smaller version only has 4 gigabytes of RAM compared to the 6 in the bigger version, I really didn't notice a speed difference. Now let's talk about the camera. This is hands down the most exciting thing about these smartphones. This is the first time that a camera's gotten 3 lenses on the back of the device. The P20 Pro comes with a 40 megapixel sensor, a 20 megapixel black and white sensor, and an 8 megapixel sensor that allows you to zoom out to 3 times. That's 1 times more than the iPhone 10 and the Galaxy S9 Plus. While the smaller version only comes with a 12 megapixel color sensor and a 20 megapixel black and white. Now, I'm not gonna go too crazy on these cameras because I've already done 3 comparisons and I'll link them in the description down below, but here's the conclusion surrounding them. When it comes to consistency, the P20 does a better job than the bigger P20 Pro. Every time you take a shot with the P20 Pro, you don't know what to expect. The software processing is a little bit of a mess and it still needs to be fine-tuned. But if you are okay with tinkering with the settings, playing with Pro mode, you're gonna get a better shot out of the P20 Pro over the P20. When it comes to video work, both phones do a great job in 1080p. Footage looks stabilized, very comparable to the Galaxy S9, but in 4K, it's a complete mess. And I don't understand how Huawei released these phones with footage that bad in 4K. Now granted, there is a big software update supposedly coming out in the near future that's supposed to fix some of these things. And if that's the case, that's fantastic. But as for now, the 4K video quality is kind of inexcusable. Battery life on both of these devices are amazing. Now, if you want great battery life and that's on the top of your list, you're gonna want to take a look at these smartphones. Even though the smaller version has a slightly smaller battery than the bigger one, I'm getting about the same battery life just because the screen size is smaller. I'm easily taking these phones up to a day and a half of use without having to charge, with about 6 hours of screen on time, which is absolutely nuts. The only thing about these devices is there's no wireless charging. You would think with a glass back they would include it. Now, some of you in the comment sections have said before that these smartphones' batteries are too big to fit in wireless charging. Now, that's true. I'd rather longer battery life than wireless charging, and I'm okay with that. And even still, if you need to top it up quickly, you can use Huawei's Supercharge. So here's the bottom line. Huawei did a fantastic job with the P20 and the P20 Pro. They're very refreshing phones capable of taking on the flagship phones of 2018 so far. They have great cameras, even though the camera processing software in the P20 Pro needs to be fixed. They have great battery life, which makes the phone last for a very long time. And the performance is fantastic. Now, the display is good, it's not great. The sound coming out of the external speakers could be a little bit better, and the software needs a little bit of fine tuning to help with notifications and the instances that I have with the notch. If you're gonna put a notch in your smartphone, make sure the software works with it. So that pretty much wraps up my review. If you want camera and battery life first, these phones have your name on it. If you prefer a better display and software experience, I think other flagship phones do a better job. Overall, these are beautiful, great devices, and I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Follow me on Instagram for some great photos from both of these devices. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And as always, I will see you in the next video.